Whiskers! Welcome to this installment of my Brothers Grimm series. If this is the first one you're seeing, I'm gonna link the playlist up this side and have a look at the rest if this is something that interests you. But without further ado, today's story is The Wolf and the Seven Little Kids. So, first I'm gonna start then with the retelling. The story starts with a family of goats. Mama Goat and her 7 kids. And she's on her way out to the forest to get berries for them and food and things. But she's a little bit worried. Wolf has been seen skulking about lately, and he is known to put on disguises to catch his prey. And she warns the kids, don't open the door for the wolf. You will know him by his rough voice and his black paws. And the kid says, okay, Mama, don't worry, we'll be fine. You may go and have no fear, we'll be okay. But of course, the wolf does come around, and the kids hear a knock on the door. But they hear the voice is gruff and rough and hard, and they don't trust it, and they say, no, wolf, we know who you are. A voice like that can't be our mother. Our mother has a sweet, soft, and kind voice. And the wolf goes away. And he goes to the shops, to the market, and he buys a bit of chalk. He chews the chalk, and that makes his voice all soft. And he goes back, and he says, hello, children, I am your mother. Do you hear that my voice is soft? And trying to peer into the windows, the wolf puts his paws up against the glass. And then the kids see, no, those paws are black. And that's exactly what they say. No, Mr. Wolf, our mother's paws are white. Your paws are far too black. And so the wolf is gone again. And this time he goes to the baker. And he asks the baker to powder his hands for him. He says, I hurt my hands terribly. I just want to powder them to help them heal. The baker is suspicious, and thinking that the wolf is laying some sort of a trap, he refuses at first. Then the wolf threatens him and his entire family, and the baker gives in. And the story says that's just how people are. And the wolf, now with white paws and a sweet voice, goes back to the little house of goats. And he says again, children, I am your mother. Listen to my voice and look at my paws and let me in. And the children, going through the list, white paws, sweet voice, this is Mama, let the wolf in. But as soon as the door opens, it's very clear that this is not their Mama. And the kids run and hide all in different places, with the youngest kid hiding inside the clock. And the wolf devours 6 little goat kids. He could not find the 7th, the youngest one hiding in the clock tower. And then, with a big old full belly, he goes and lays under a tree to sleep. When Mama comes back, she's distraught. Her whole house is a mess. The tables are strewn about, everything's knocked over, and there's not one of her little kids in sight. And she calls them each by name, and when she comes to the 7th little kid, he says, Mama, I'm here, I'm in the clock. And he comes out and tells his mom the story of what happened, how the wolf had tricked them. And then Mama, very distraught, heads outside just to clear her head, just to think, to just get away from this horrible sight. And there she sees the wolf, sleeping. And what else does she see? His belly is wriggling, moving around. Could it be possible, she thinks, that my kids are still alive in there? And it is, for the wolf ate so greedily that he swallowed them all whole, neglecting to chew, and so all of the kids are still alive in his belly. So the mom immediately asks for her sewing equipment, and she cuts up the wolf's stomach, opens it up, and out jump all 6 of her kids. Happy and healthy, if a bit traumatized. And then she comes up with a new idea, and she asks her kids to each bring a stone, and they pack the wolf's belly full of heavy stones. So after a while, thirsty from the dry rock in his stomach, the wolf gets up and he feels very strange. The kids are clanking around in his stomach like rocks. And he's thirsty and he goes to the town well. But as he dips down to have a drink, the rocks tumble forward and he loses his balance. And he falls down, down, down into the deep well. And he drowns. And Mama Goat and her kids live happily ever after. So that's the story. Actually, a happy ending for once. And it's sort of a weird mix. It's obviously very reminiscent to Little Red Riding Hood with the wolf tricking them. It's very reminiscent to the three piglets who built their houses out of different things to try to evade the wolf. And it also has a little bit of Greek myth in there. It's very reminiscent to me of the story of Kronos eating his children until the last son, Zeus, is saved. And instead, the mother gives him a stone to swallow. And then finally, when Kronos is defeated, all of Zeus's siblings spring forth fully grown and undamaged, unburdened by their time in their father's stomach. So it draws on that story a little bit. And at first, I couldn't get to the modern parallel. I couldn't find a story that might have been linked to this somehow in the modern world. So I started to lay out the morality, as I do. So the first morality we're teaching kids here is definitely stranger danger. Don't open the door to anyone. People are bad out there. Which is sort of strange for this era, since children are supposed to be just adults in training. There's not that much care over children. But it still teaches you that bad people exist and you have to be careful because they might try to trick you. Then there's also a little bit of a don't point out your enemy's mistakes. If they had not told the wolf what had given him away, he could not have concealed it the second time. So there's a little bit of that. And then the third thing is obviously greed. If the wolf had taken his time to chew, Mother Goat would not have suspected that her children might still be alive, because they wouldn't be wriggling about, and he might have survived the whole ordeal. So, taking that into account, and having the youngest little boy survive all of this. Actually, I don't think the story necessarily genders the youngest kid, but it felt very much to me like Home Alone. So, the morality of the story kind of brought me to what might be the modern iteration. This might seem like a bit of a stretch, but these stories have been told and retold so many times they completely twist and become something different. I think this story's modern version is Home Alone. If you take this story and you strip all the fantasy elements away, okay, now it's just a kid and some bad guy, and then you have to make it not so dark and also not so fantasy. Obviously, kids can't really be eaten alive and survive. So we need the other 6 children and the parents to be gone, but not dead or not eaten. Okay, send them on holiday. And then you need the young kid again to be a little bit tricky, hiding in the clock tower, setting up a bunch of traps. So I think that brings us to Home Alone. Does that mean the creators were inspired by this story? Probably not. But every dream that has been dreamt before, and I think this was probably a previous iteration of that story. Obviously, Home Alone makes it a lot more fun, a lot more entertaining, where the wolf just sinks down into the ground, drowning. It's a lot less visual. But that little touch of the wolf sinking down into the underworld again makes me think of Kronos, who after being defeated was banished into the underworld. So yeah, I feel like this story has loose strings into both the future in Home Alone and to the past in Greek mythology. I would not be surprised if somehow we were to find out that that was one of the origins of this story, or one of the inspirations for this story. So, yeah, if you have any other ideas of what a modern iteration might be, please let me know. This was my best guess. Very similar morality, so not much to compare there. Other than that, please click all the things and have a good week. Bye, Whiskers!